This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here in the cellar with Marine Dubard from Vignobles Dubard. How are you today?
Great. I'm very happy to have you here.
Now, we've just been tasting through your wines, your Bergerac wines and your wines from Montravel. Very interesting wines. Now, please tell me a little bit about your family's winery.
Well, the family created the estate in 1977 and focused on quality right from the start and focused on winemaking, whereas in the area people would produce other things like corn or tobacco, or also raise animals, and they wanted to focus on wine and good quality wine. It meant they wanted to bottle their own wine, whereas the neighbors mostly would give the grapes to co-ops. So they chose high density vineyards, and we still take the advantage now of this high density. And we kept the orientation towards the export markets, because we think it's a great way of life to live here in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by vineyards and gentle hills, and at the same time take up the plane and be in Manhattan and see people that happy to taste wines from our little corner of France. So we have a passion with winemaking. We have a lot of fun, and we especially try to make wine we're happy to taste and drink. We think it's the best way. We don't make wine to please someone in particular. We make wine to please ourselves.
You grow the same grapes as Bordeaux.
Yes.
This is true?
Yes, exactly. We use the same grape varieties. These grapes variety are originally from the southwest of France, like Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Malbec. So there's no difference with the grape varieties.
So it's interesting because Bergerac is a region that I'm familiar with, but I don't think all that many people are. How would you describe the differentiation between Bordeaux and Bergerac?
Well, Bergerac is very close to Bordeaux. The wine appellations are very close to each other, they touch each other. And the Gironde, département de Gironde, the region where the Bordeaux wines are made, it's 10 kilometers from here, so it's very close. So the similarities are really important between the two wine regions. But I think Bergerac, the history is different. Bordeaux is about prestige and reputation. Bergerac is also a very agricultural region where we produce duck, we used to produce tobacco. It's a very well-known region for also prehistoric discoveries like these paintings in Lascaux that were discovered about 50 years ago. So people really enjoy the area of Bergerac for tourism, because there are lots of castles from the Middle Ages, a good way of life. People like to eat well, to drink well, to take time. I think this is why people think the way of life here is very relaxing. There's a very good quality of life. This is why I think there are so many English people in the area. They flee the agitation of big cities like London and seem to appreciate the way of life we have here. So, and there's also a spirit. I mean, people like hunting, like rugby. So people like I don't know. They have to have fun here.
The soils are, for the most part, quite different from Bordeaux.
It depends where. For example, here we are on the right bank of the river Dordogne. We are not in the same institutional wine region, but the soil doesn't stop where institutions begin. I mean, we are on a similar limestone plateau like St Emilion, so it's very similar, even though the reputation is different.
Today we've tasted some wines from an appellation that I'm reasonably unfamiliar with, that being the appellation of Montravel. Would you mind explaining a little bit about that appellation and how it came about, and what you think are its main selling points?
Well, Montravel is a small part of the Bergerac wine region. We call that in French a cru. like Montbazillac is also a cru of Bergerac, or Sauterne can be a cru of Bordeaux. So in France, small appellations like Montravel, the aim was for people to show their little corner of the wine appellation was above the general quality, mainly. So the rules are more restrictive. So I think it's very important to show the potential of the soils of the climate in little corners like Montravel. So I think it's good for the reputation of an area like Bergerac to show that you can have top of the range cuvée in areas like Montravel. So there's a whole story behind tradition. So I think it's a good image for France. But we also like to work on the Bergerac wine region to sell a bigger volume of wine around the world. So we have to play on these two wine appellations. Usually the small wine appellation work better in France because people like to, I don't know how to explain this bit, but in America I feel like people like to offer a bottle to a friend that you can have a good press review of. Whereas in France, it's the opposite. People like to find hidden bottles, something you never heard about, and say, "Oh, friend, look,
I understand.
I found something amazing. I never heard about it. I went to the Dordogne Valley during holiday and found a little producer who works very well, but he is still a bit unknown." And that's what people like to do in France. So I think it's good to have the two, really, to sell wine.
So how should we make people more aware of the wines of Bergerac and Montravel?
Well, first is putting a lot of energy in making the best wines possible and selling them at a reasonable price, just to increase our sales, and the more people will appreciate our wines, and the more the reputation of Bergerac will be important, we think.
Well, thank you very much for entertaining us today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. You're just about to head into harvest. 2013 harvest looks like it could be interesting, to say the least. But yeah. Thank you very much for having us at your winery today. Very much.
Thank you very much for your visit.
Bye for now.